to... Oh dear, Mr. Wake. I'm so glad you're here.
Rose, you have my manuscript?
Oh. Oh, yes. Yes. Please, come in.
She still doesn't seem quite herself.
Hey, this is really good.
Rose.
Yes.
My manuscript. I really need it.
I understand. I know what you need. A muse to inspire you.
Oh, for Barry. She doesn't have anything.
Yeah, hey, Al? Al, what's... Oh...
Barry! What?
Barry's gone thonk. Barry's fallen thonk ways.
It's coming for you, hiding in my barber's skin. I'm too weak to stop it. You must turn the lights on.
I promised I'd come visit you and your lovely wife. You must finish what you started. I insist.
You must turn the lights on. Turn the light on.
Back to work, boy.
You ever have one of those dreams?
I felt nauseous, hungover. Only anger kept me going.
I can't tell reality from dream anymore, but it seems I have an imaginary editor to help me. She's an old woman in a funeral dress. I call her Barbara Jagger. She's very strict. I'm writing faster and faster. My manuscript is being heavily revised. The edits are getting very aggressive, and each day there's less of me and more of her. I hate it, but I know she's right. She promises me I can save Alice this way. She knows more of this than I do. About the complex incantation I'm attempting. About this place. She's worked with another writer under similar circumstances, Thomas Zane. The genre of the story seems to be shifting. It's turning into a horror story. I'm getting close. I can feel it.
So we have a little more clarity on the situation now. It seems that Barbara Jagger is the woman appearing to us.
I had less than 12 hours left to meet the kidnapper. All I could do was get Barry into the car, work something out once I got on the road.
Oh, there's Rose.
Barry was
Hey,
out of
you
it.
feeling,
It was way too heavy to carry.
You're right. I deserve more money. I'm so handsome.
Welcome to the
Ow.
Oh Dear Diner.
Be
What
ashamed
can
to
I
wake
get
him
you
up from
today?
that.
Coffee?
I couldn't work up much hate for Rose. Something had used her to get to me and left its mark.
First refill is free. Milk and sugar on the counter there. Would you like to hear today's specials? Thank you. A nice day. Come back soon.
Oh, Rose. Of course I don't blame you for this. Just like me, you are a pawn in all of this. We are together. All right, Barry, you enjoy your nap. Yes, you are handsome. Yes, you deserve more money. We'll talk about it when I get back. So, as I was trying to say, it appears that Barbara Jagger is the woman we're seeing, who is, in fact, Thomas Zane's wife, who drowned in 1970. Somehow, a dark presence is usurping her skin to use against the living.
My gun and flashlight were gone. I'd have to find a way to get Barry into the car as quickly as possible. There was no time to waste.
So sorry, trying not to interrupt Alan. There is also some remnant, it seems, of Thomas Zane, the writer who has been through this before, left in the world, trying to protect me, trying to stop things. Some sort of bright presence.
Mr. Randolph liked Rose. That little smile she had, how she was still sweet when life had tried so hard to make her bitter. It wasn't any of his business what she did in her trailer, but those strangers, the writer and his smart-ass sidekick, looked like trouble, and they'd been in there for hours, way past her normal bedtime. He reached for the phone and called the sheriff's station.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. Thank you for watching out for your tenants. Alright, so we still can't go that way because of the boat. We must go around, flashlightless and unarmed. Maybe we could just hide in one of these dumpsters until it's all over? I don't think the Dark Presence would find us there.
I just stepped outside to catch a breath of fresh air. Let me tell you, the weather's getting heavy. Nights like this make me especially glad I'm here talking to you and not home in bed. Once the weather takes a turn like this, I can't sleep at all. It's all tangled bed sheets and dark thoughts, punctuated by the occasional plunge into nightmare. Is it just me? Well, perhaps it is. But I hope I can make the night a little bit easier to get through. Caller, you're on KBF FM.
Hey, Pat, it's Walt Snyder.
What's on your mind, Walt?
Well, I am the way you are, but, well, I can't sleep either, you know? I just been staring out the window here, trying to make sense of it all, but, I ain't been drinking either, you know? I just...
Well, you sound like a man with a problem, Walt.
I had a, argument with Danny. You know Danny, and, then I got in trouble with the law, you know, and, I'm just, well...
I heard something like that, Walt.
Yeah, well, you know, Danny's my best friend, and, they let me out on bail today, and now I'm just alone here at the window, you know, waiting. Man, and there's something in the air tonight, man.
I was just outside looking up at the sky above our broadcast tower thinking the same thing. What are you waiting for, Walt?
I don't know. You know, something's gonna happen. You know, I think I better go.
Well, Walt, maybe...
No, thanks, Pat.
Well, good luck to you, Walt. Hang in there. Let's take a little break, folks. This weather's really something else, huh?
Yeah. Startling. This weather where nothing's really happening at all. Every time I pass this sign, I'm randier for dogs than ever. Randy, when will you open these dogs? There he is. Randy, I have a question for you about the dogs. It's dog-related. I hear whimpering. Like a baby crying? That's fun. That's nice to hear at night.
Oh, you're gonna get it now. God knows what you've done to that poor girl. This is Agent Nightingale, FBI! Get him up, Hemingway! You're under arrest! You move
oh, that hurts.
I'll unload right in your goddamn face! Stay right where you are, Spillane!
Managed to call me Hemingway and Spillane in the same 3 seconds. I love that.
What are? I'm standing right here, you goddamn maniac!
Hey, listen here, Chaucer. Get back here, Yeats.
I hated to leave Barry behind, but there was no way I'd miss my appointment with the kidnapper.
Give it up, Mr. Wake! Come on!
Okay, now I'm running from the police. I'm running this way, away from the lights. And I've just now remembered the button to do so. So to those not in the know, about the various supernatural things going on here, it sort of appears as though I might have come to a sleepy mountain town and tried to dispose of my wife. I can see how they might think that.
Oh, damn.
They're flaring. Okay. Wish I had a little more stamina in me for the bullet sequence. But this is fine. This is fine too. It's a good thing the undergrowth is so thick. You'll never follow me through here. Alright, what's gonna happen next? The dark presence sleeps.
The darkness that wore Barbara Jagger's skin slept fitfully in the dark place that was its home and prison. It was hungry and in pain. It dreamed of its nights of glory when the poet's writing had called it from the depths and given it a brief, terrible taste of power and freedom. The rock stars had stirred it from the deep sleep the poet had sunk it back to in the end. When it sensed the writer on the ferry, it opened its eyes.
That's a very interesting point that I often forget and have until this moment. That when Thomas Zane wrote himself and Barbara out of existence in 1970, he successfully put the dark presence to sleep. Whatever he did to sacrifice himself caused it to be trapped. However, the thing it is like a response to a creative power or a creative act. The darkness comes into a creation, finds every part of it that's honest, and makes it real, basically. And usually the parts about it that are honest are not necessarily the best parts about it. So it seems like after 1970, the old gods of Asgard, the quote rock stars, came and began to create new songs here using the inspirational power of the lake, which can also be prophetic. And they somehow roused it from its sleep. That's what the darkness does. It waits for a writer that is honest and powerful enough to successfully and truthfully write it free. And so it kind of listens for acts of creation, like ripples on the top of its water, and responds to them. So at some point after 1970, Thor and Odin Anderson, the old gods of Asgard, moved to Bright Falls to retire from being rock stars, thinking that they were done writing songs, but after they lived here, they were inspired by the muse that is the lake, and it all started again. And that's why, when I arrive, it's finally powerful enough to kind of strike again. It was stirred from its slumber by the head banging. It's my best guess, at least, as is all of this. Gentle reminder going forward. I know nothing. Oh, well, I'm sure they're gonna find a way to blame me for that, too. Okay, gonna keep running. Alright. Safety of the light. Let it fill my breeches. What are you firing at?
Search the area.
I hear the whooshing. I hear the whooshing of the darkness. The darkness whooshes all around me. I think I had better get to this lantern post. Lamp post? What do I mean to say? I'm too frightened. Okay, I don't get this lamp post. Still unarmed. Still flashlightless.
This horror was everywhere I went, circling me. The cops didn't stand a chance. They were after a writer, not a monster.
So it's also important to note that at this point I have not finished the book. And it's important that in order to free the dark presence, an act of creation needs to be complete. It needs to be complete and make sense, like have those honest elements. So, right now it appears that the dark presence is effectively protecting me from the police. It's attacking them because it wants me to finish the novel. It doesn't necessarily want to protect me. I'm just the only writer powerful enough to actually free it. So it is acting on my behalf.
You on the ground. Hold it right there. There's nowhere to run. Freeze!
Seems like a lot of force to deploy against an unarmed man, but sure. Uh-oh. That can't be good. Sorry about your helicopter. All right. Gonna have to pay for that later. And I have come upon a fire watch station, perhaps? A lookout? Looks like it landed over near Stucky's gas station, perhaps? I wonder if there's anything else to see through there. Not necessarily seeing anything of importance. Okay, so I'm assuming when I go in there, a cutscene will likely start. Let me just peek around a bit. Make sure I'm not missing anything.
The radio station in the distance.
Ah, that must be where they're broadcasting the talk show. And there's their radio tower. Okay. Let's see what's gonna happen next.
This is James. Mulligan, Thornton, come in. Over.
Thornton here. James, we got both Wheeler and Rose in custody. They didn't put up a fight or anything. But anyway, hey, Mulligan, what are you doing? Come on.
Sit down and give me that. James, Mulligan here. Over. Go ahead, Mulligan. Over. We got Wheeler and Rose here. Wheeler's drunk or hopped up on something. Speaking of which, that Fed had a pretty distinctive whiff of Otis Scotch about him, you know what I mean. Over. I don't have anything on that, Deputy Mulligan. Over. Well, whatever. Anyway, Rose is just being plain weird here. You better get Doc in to take a look at both. Over. Gotcha. You better get them here quickly. The, Fed's gonna want to interview Wheeler. Over. Oh, yeah, I'll bet he does. Looks like they have a lot in common. Mulligan out.
So the local police seem to be under the impression that Agent Nightingale, FBI Agent Nightingale, is a little drunk tonight. Seems to be the consensus. Which may explain the rather free-flying shotgun blasts. I guess I'm going this way. Toward the radio station?
Tower in the distance was part of the local radio station. Maine seemed like a decent guy. Perhaps he could give me directions to the coal mine.
So yes, I guess we've set up a secondary rendezvous with the kidnapper to discuss my wife. This time at the coal mine,
Natural
which
shadows
sure
coming
bodes
from
well.
it. The darkness that was after me was trying to stop me. I wouldn't get through without light.
Okay, so now that I'm not in immediate danger, me and the darkness are back at odds. It's now trying to stop me from escaping it. Now that I won't be killed instantly by trigger-happy police. Alright, so there's a generator back there. I'm guessing... Yeah. Turn that on first. Still is not a flashlight or a gun anywhere that I'm seeing. And I must need the other side. That's there. Okay. Appear to be some shorts in this line. Get your shorts out of the line. Okay. Guessing that's all we need that for. Not seeing any thermoses, etc. Thermi? No clue. Okay, just another stretch of deeply, deeply haunted woods. Question in the chat here, is there a website where you can read more about the backstory of Alan Wake, Bright Falls, Old Gods of Asgard, etc.? There are various wikis and things which would definitely have more information. You know, Thomas Zane being one of the main things to look up. Barbara Jagger, etc., etc. I don't know if there's like a consolidated mystery hunting forum or anything like that necessarily that I know of, but there's definitely information floating around. And then one of the most important things that we may actually need to, like I may need to read you a couple of entries of this website later when we get back into control, is there's this House of Dreams. It's a blog from 2012 that I did not know about until 2019, like an idiot. I had a good 7 years to catch up here. There's a blog out there with a lot of information. A woman named Samantha Wells, who used to live in a little town named Ordinary. So if you get a chance to read this House of Dreams, that would help fill in some blanks. Alright, they're finally giving me a flashlight to fight against the dark gate here. Sadly, that means I'll also be fair game. While it is frightening to be unarmed, it usually means you're not going to be attacked. And now I'm armed. With a flashlight, at least.
It took me a moment to recognize the flashbang grenades. They were an ideal weapon for my situation.
Team 1, come in. Over.
Okay.
This is Sheriff Breaker. Report. Over.
So I need to pick the right time to explode one of these. Okay. There we go.
Call. You're on KBF-FM with Pat Maine.
It's Milt Peabody, Pat.
What's on your mind, Milt?
Well, I live near the trailer park, Pat, and there's a big ruckus going on over there.
Well, that's just up the road from me, too. What's going on, do you know?
I don't know, but there's a bunch of police cars there, lots of sirens, a helicopter buzzing around, and I think I heard some gunshots.
Gunshots?
Oh, you did?
Yes, sir, like from a pistol. So can you find out what's going on? Because it's just next door, and they're popping off guns there.
They're still shooting?
No, it was maybe 10, 15 minutes ago. It sounds serious, Pat. I'm telling you, it don't sound like no party.
I'm certainly going to give the station a call, Milt.
Okay.
You'll hear it here as soon as I hear from them.
Okay, thanks.
This is all sort of an interesting setup because you continue to hear him and you know that he's on the air, people are still calling in, and you're going to the radio station. So the implication is that at some point you will catch up to the radio show. That wasn't the best placement, but hopefully it'll get the job done. Why does your machete have a hook on it? What kind of sense does that make? This is very, very low level of oxygen in Alan's lungs right now, apparently. No, thank you. Oh, it's getting brighter. Okay, made it to the radio station. And I assume we've caught up to the show.
Oh, hello, Lorna. What do you have for us?
Making sure that wasn't a page.
Of course you're going to have trouble in a place like that. I mean, what do you expect? The sheriff should be helping us normal citizens instead of wasting resources on those people.
Well...
Let the trash sort themselves out. I'm sorry, but
oh, goodness.
settled in Bright Falls in 1911.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Lorna, you prejudiced old bag, you. Just any people who live in a trailer park, leave them be. They deserve to die. No, Lorna.
Oh, here's a little surprise.
Step forward so that I may slap you with a glove.
Folks, I'm going to see if I can talk him into an interview.
Come on in,
Well,
Mr.
you
Wake.
can't talk me into an interview if you don't unlock the door, Pat.
To do this, Mr. Wake.
No, they caught me. This was a terrible idea. Dan Brown.
Everyone calm down.
Put the gun down. We're all friends here, right?
Cool your jets, Nightingale. We got him.
Judas Priest!
What the hell's the matter with you? There's a civilian in there.
Okay, Officer McScotch. We're gonna do this again from one.
I'll get you yet, even if it kills me. You hear me? You hear me, H.P. Lovecraft?
I had fallen off so many cliffs it was ridiculous. That's what you get for naming a book The Sudden Stop. It was probably good I hadn't had the chance to tell Maine where I was going. I'd have to lose the cops and find my own way to the mine. Nightingale stared through the broken studio window into the dark woods. He turned around, started to walk out, but Maine grabbed his arm. "Young man, you almost shot me." You don't shoot off rounds at people like that. What's the matter with you? Nightingale shook his arm free, marched out. His cheeks burned with rage and humiliation.
His cheeks burned like freshly made toast. He thought better than to butter them, though. Good. I hope he feels humiliated. That's my kink. Just with Agent Nightingale, though. It's very specific. Okay, let's get this on real quick. That could have gone worse. Could have gone better. Alright, so now I do have an actual revolver. We are back in play. And regrettably, that means I have to actually fight them. Okay. Okay, fine. I'm not sure if this ridge is going to do me any favors here. Let's try this way.
There was no sensible reason for the power company work lights to be here. It was almost as if they'd been left for someone like me to use.
Almost as if they'd been written into the story? Okay, so they are temporary. They seem to flicker out after a while, but I have lots of them. In case. Yeah, they come. That's what they were waiting for. It's a shotgun ambush. No, not yet. I should be using the shotgun for those guys. I have no shots left now. That was foolish. But fun. Foolish but fun. Stop creaking. I beg of you. Uh-huh. Balance of an angel. That's Alan for you. Okay, I think I've taken too long. And they're sending another wave after me now. Do I go this way? I'm all turned around. I hope I go this way.
Sarah trusted her gut, and her gut said Agent Nightingale was an asshole. He felt wrong, and it wasn't just the smell of stale booze. It was in the way he flashed his badge, pulled rank, the look in his eyes when he wanted answers. Where was Alan Wake? What was this about an accident? Where was his wife? And most importantly, why did she let Wake go? He wouldn't answer her questions. Federal business was all he'd say.
One thing I will mention about this House of Dreams that we mentioned previously, Samantha Wells' blog. She is one of the After the events of Control, where Jesse and Dylan Faden found the slide projector in the ordinary dump, several weeks later, after the events of that and discovering the various slides, all adult residents of Ordinary disappeared. Samantha Wells moved in several years later. She's part of the sort of repopulation effort of the town. So they were selling off all the houses, really cheap, come in, fix them up, live in the town of Ordinary. And one thing that happens to her as part of the blog is that she has a dream where she's visited by a federal agent who sounds very much like Nightingale for some reason. But it's not necessarily Nightingale. And the only thing that she can remember distinctly about the agent from the dream is that instead of like FBI or something on his badge, were the letters AWE, which we now know has a specific meaning to the Federal Bureau of Control, and might in fact have been a bureau agent. So it's just interesting that line, federal business, made me think of it. It's not necessarily related to any of this, but I have to find the right time to fit in elements from this House of Dreams, which has become startlingly important. Okay, got some shots back for this. Make sure they're actually in the weapon. And we're on to the train yard.
Hello?
The most stubborn man I've ever met.
Alice? Alice?
Alan, I'm so afraid. Keeps me in the dark. Please help me. I look at you, Alan, and it's not you. Something else. Looking out from behind your eyes.
Alice, I'm here.
I'm so alone here. It's all gonna go to hell. You need to be careful. Cooperate.
The connection had been terrible, but that wasn't the only thing that hadn't been right with the call. She sounded wrong somehow, but she had called me.
She did sound wrong. Like that was a clipped-up newspaper pieced back together badly. Okay, extra supplies. Thanks for that. Now I have to use my extra supplies, but that's all right. I thought I already got his shield, but I didn't. Okay, still more shots than we came in with.
The pipe wrenched itself loose from the bridge's steel framework. Wrapped in darkness, it floated in midair, twitching. For a moment, I didn't understand what I was looking at. The heavy object lurched at me with impossible force. I threw myself out of the way, but just barely. When I turned my flashlight on it, it shook in a dark rage before it flew at me again.
So they seem to be saying those dark gates we've seen, possessed by the darkness, they're about to...
And a warehouse of some sort on the opposite shore. I hoped I could find a car from there.
We're about to get things flying at us, not locked to the gate, but rather pursuing us, it seems. All right. Let's scale the underside of this bridge. There goes a train. That's lovely. So the question is, which objects are going to come alive? It said the pipe wrenched itself loose from the wall in the manuscript.
The darkness that was pursuing me was growing stronger, and it was taking over everything in its path.
That's a lot of possessed objects. All right. Thank you, Railing. I really appreciate your being here. Okay. Those are most of the dangerous ones, except for that. There we go. This one should be stationary.
I slammed the door shut right in his smug face. He pleaded for me to open the door. True to form, the asshole actually thought I would obey. I had no sympathy left, no guilt either, not for him. I took a moment to savor the scream. I bet I had a smile on my face. It was all that I had
Seems
done.
like a bit of an escalation.
Presence was inside the lodge with me.
Okay.
As a teenager,
almost
just
to the
starting get
train
interested
depot.
in writing, Stephen King had been a source of inspiration to me. I thought about all the inanimate objects that had come to life in his books. No one is safe in a good horror story. Certainly not the protagonist. That's what makes them fun. This was anything but. The darkness could possess anything, and it was getting closer.
Okay, this looks like a combat arena of some sort. I suppose there's nothing for it. We're trying to find a vehicle. Okay. Yeah, the light just shattered. Good. Good stuff. Quick check for pages. Page boys, where are you? Hey, everybody. Well, that's a painfully slow gait. Okay. Alan is getting quick at reloading weapons. If there's one thing he's learned from this experience. Yay! Looks like we have perhaps another episode of Night Springs in our future. Though it may just be a me TV. Usually those turn on by themselves, though.
We take the facts of our existence for granted, unaware that they are merely a thin veneer of desperate self-delusion, covering a vast cosmos of madness and horror. All too often, the stars are right. In Night Springs. Tonight's
Definitely coming through. Good hoy to you.
Journalist Alvin Derleth's trip to study the local customs of an insular community in Night Springs has been less than successful. Until tonight.
Well, I'm glad you changed your minds about this. Ancient customs, local mythology. My editor loves this kind of stuff.
Well, Mr. Derleth, we don't want to feel like we're on exhibition. But you have demonstrated the seriousness of your intent.
Oh, I am serious. Really, just do your thing. I'll stay out of your way and observe.
Actually, I thought you could assist us. I'm afraid we are a man short. It would provide you with an intimate perspective.
Could I really?
Of course, Mr. Derleth.
Well, I guess that's the least I... What would I have to do?
Oh, here. Let me show you with a kiss.
What did you...
Oh, Mr. Derleth, you have well pleased Nixie Perka, the dweller in flesh. Your body shall host his 1,000 young, and all shall be glory.
No!
Shh, darling, be calm. Shh.
Alvin Derleth learned a harsh lesson. If you go looking for mythology, it may come looking for you. And such quests always bear fruit. In Night Springs.
Dun dun dun. And then one more dun for good measure. Alright, it's done now. Nixie Perka, the dweller in flesh, has had quite the feast, it seems. What a shame for Mr. Derleth.
The darkness surged towards me, sucking everything loose from the ground into its depths, tugging at my clothes. I saw the flare the kidnapper had dropped and threw myself towards it just as I felt my feet leave the ground. The darkness embraced me with the force of a tornado. Somehow I managed to light the flare. The darkness roared and cast me away. I fell toward the dark waters of the lake far below.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be a dramatic sequence. I can't wait. Nixie Perka? The dweller in flesh, is that you? Okay. Oh, it's a bulldozer. Not quite what I expected. Okay, bulldozer can only be hurt by a boosted beam, apparently. Let's take care of these guys first. We've got all day. All day, just the two of us, you and me. So far, so good. Gonna need to get past you there, Mr. Pipe. Excuse me. Okay, so this must be the vehicle it was pointing out. And I suppose there's nothing for it.
I had never been this glad to see the sunrise. I had a couple of hours to get to the coal mine.
So any other episode, that would probably be the end of it. Episode 3 is kind of a double feature. It's very, very long compared to the others, but that's great.
Today, I would meet the kidnapper, and he would give me Alice. I wouldn't give him any other choice. A drowning man will clutch at a straw.
Alright. I'm not sure why he's exited the vehicle to look at this, but canonically he has. So we have a bit of a drive to get to the coal mine here.
Little by little,
and this is a
without
cool...
realizing it, I'd come to believe that the story in the manuscript was coming true. The current of its narrative had taken me deeper and deeper into dark waters. Alice had been taken from me. Barry was probably in jail. I was a fugitive from the FBI. The whole world taken over by the dark presence was trying to destroy me. It all felt real, but it matched a textbook case of insanity.
This is just one of my favorite spots in the game here. This rough road ahead sign is so oddly appropriate. Always like to stop here. And I was just saying, this is a good time to mention that when this game was originally conceived, you know, there's this long driving sequence to get to the coal mine here. When this game was originally being developed, it was thought that it was a big open world where you could drive around during the day and find manuscript pages that would then tell you what was going to happen during the night to come. And so the idea was that you would go around doing all sorts of other stuff here in this big drivable open Bright Falls environment. And then only during the night, basically, would you have a mission, a story mission would occur. But over time, they just had to make the game a little more linear. They, back on 360, didn't have the resources they needed to really pull this off the way they wanted to. It actually kind of became what this was supposed to be in, like, Deadly Premonition. That has a similar system where it's safe during the day and you can explore the whole town, and then at night missions happen, kind of thing. So this was originally supposed to be that. So just to mention, this whole driving sequence is kind of a leftover from that open world development cycle, and it's one of the only real parts of the game where you get a feel for how big Bright Falls is, how big the actual environment they built is, which I think is really cool. All of that leading up to any potential sequel to Alan Wake might fully realize the dream and have an explorable open world with nighttime darkness sequences. But who knows if that's still their intention. But that's enough rambling from me. So occasionally there's weird things to explore, like, oh, that staircase looks interesting. I wonder what's at the top of it. But let's just keep going towards the coal mine. Or we could crash the truck. That works too, Alan. Whatever you feel up for. So you can, like, get out and switch cars and look for supplies, etc., etc. This was all kind of supposed to be how the original game was.
This is Pat Maine, and you're listening to KBF-FM. Folks, I want to apologize for kind of abandoning you to that looping music track last night, but I was detained. You see, I encountered a big-shot G-man with an itchy trigger finger who could use a lesson in manners and a boot in the ass. Not necessarily in that order either. Now, folks...
Boot him in the ass
I know I'm
first.
being very informative here, and I apologize for that. I really should just keep quiet, but I'm just so peeved right now, because some people just shouldn't be carrying badges. I'm just glad that our Sheriff Breaker was there to straighten things out. And if someone I met last night is listening, let me just say... I'm sorry if my mouth got you in trouble. I'm pretty sure you're not the bad guy here. Godspeed, son. I hope you know what you're doing. Now, on a lighter note, I'll be talking to Dr. Nelson all morning. But first, a little music.
It's very decent of Pat to offer his condolences to my situation, though for all he knows, I am a criminal. But he's caught on to the fact that Nightingale seems to have some sort of desperate agenda. I'm going to switch to this just because that's smoking a little from my unfortunate boulder incident. Just in case. So I love this part of it. It's like you get to play through the opening of The Shining, basically. And I'm very, very glad they got to leave in just a taste of what they wanted to give us. This big, big world. That is suspicious. As though there might be a manuscript page up there. Let's check. But that's the coal mine just down below, so we're almost there.
Welcome back to KBF-FM. Hope you enjoyed that tune. Now, Doc, you were talking about life and finding that special someone, that soulmate.
Well, you were talking about that. I was saying I don't buy it.
Well, see, to me, that's strange, because I always pegged you as a hopeless romantic.
You got me there, Pat. But I think love's where you look for it. And you need to do a lot of looking, sure. But the idea that there's that one special person out there for you, and if you miss that chance, it's gone forever, and you're forever incomplete. I mean, isn't that depressing? Or, heck, childish even? Hey, there's plenty of fish in the sea.
And apparently a fisherman has a fishing analogy for everything, but what you're saying, isn't that a little harsh?
Well, no. What I am saying is that your potential for finding that connection isn't limited to what's essentially a chance encounter. How is that harsh?
Yeah, well, I guess that's a nice thought, but let me say something personal here.
Okay.
Now,
I have rabies.
I don't disagree with you exactly, but
oh, too personal?
I can't really fit that together with what I feel, what I felt for someone, because she was the one. She was. And I let her drift away from me. Maybe I didn't put in the work, I don't know, but well, since then, and it was a long time ago, but since then there hasn't been anyone, not like her. And I'm not saying I dwell on her or haven't moved on. I like my life. I'm not living in the past, but I do miss the way she completed me.
You can't argue with the heart, Pat.
I'm sorry, folks. I had kind of a scary experience last night, and let's just say it's shaken a few things loose.
I'm very grateful to hear this discussion. I wish this discussion was had by more older gentlemen on the radio. And others. Let's give the others a chance to speak too, older gentlemen. How about it? Okay. Just to continue throwing Nightingale off the scent, third car. They'll never find me now. So I think you can go in there, or you can drive around to the lower section. There might be a note or something in here I'm forgetting. Just in case. I've already wasted enough of your time. What's another 30 seconds? You missed some floor. Somebody? Anybody? Floorman? Ah, that looks dangerous. Ah, pay dirt.
For Mott, spying on the writer on the ferry had been a disappointment. His boss had made Wake out to be something special. But
So
Mott
he was on the ferry specifically.
He'd gotten a good long look at the wife, though, and he liked what he saw. Mott had fantasized about goading Wake into a fight, but it hadn't happened. Still, he'd get his chance to see if the writer had anything in him. He'd been promised as much.
There's a lovely view of the coal mine, too. Well worth the climb. Okay. I'm sure you know what's about to happen, though. That we're entering the coal mine to speak to the kidnapper. And it's light out. So surely nothing bad can happen. I'm definitely not going to find a way to pass out, lose 8 hours of my life, and be thrust back into the darkness. Surely that would be absurd. Oh. Sorry, car. Skinned your bum-bum there.
I was early. I was supposed to meet the kidnapper at noon in the main building. The line was quiet. It was a museum now.
While lucrative at first, the mining steadily declined in the 20th century. The seams were rich but hard to get at, and the volcanic activity in the area made the mine shafts particularly dangerous. Tell me about it. While there were some earlier residents in the area, the true genesis of the town of Bright Falls came with the founding of the Bright Falls Mining Company and the opening of the Bright Falls coal mine in 1878. Although the work was hard and dangerous, many immigrants, Germans, Poles, Italians, Finns, and Swedes, among others, worked the mines. History. Okay. I guess there's nothing but to march on towards my fate. My elbow patches guiding me to glory.
With Nightingale gone and the night wind blowing in through the broken studio window, Maine stared at Sarah. The sheriff looked away. Maine's voice shook with barely controlled anger. That boy's doing more drinking than thinking. I hope you know what you're doing, Sarah. He's got a sickness in his eyes. You take my word for it. He wants Wake for a reason, and it's not for anything good.
It's definitely not for hugs. Good morning, welcome. I am doing well, thank you for asking. How is everyone in the chat? Let's take a moment before the darkness descends upon us to address our emotional state. Good? Freaking out? Numb to everything? Tell me where you lie. In 1970, a volcanic eruption below Cauldron Lake, while relatively minor, caused most of the deep mining tunnels to collapse or flood. 32 miners lost their lives in the calamity. Oh, that's a bummer. And all mining around Bright Falls came to a final stop. A sudden one? Now many of the remaining buildings are protected as historical landmarks. Looks like a complicated place to fight for your life. And here we go. I hope you enjoyed the light.
Cops had to be looking for me. The noon sun turned the place into a sauna. The day dragged on. Different scenarios ran through my mind. Ways of how I'd torture the kidnapper to get Alice back. Or the different horrible things he could have done to her. I imagined her dead. I had no way of knowing she was still alive. It was killing me. I was running on blind hope. It was all a waste of time. The bastard never showed up.
And it's dark.
Wait.
Where the hell are you?
Change of plans. You know where Mirror Peak is? It's a big mountain north of where you are. You follow the path from the mine, you can't miss it. There's a lookout point there. I'll be waiting.
I'm through being jerked around by you.
You want to see your wife alive? Because if you do, you better watch what you say to me. Do we understand each other?
I want to talk to Alice.
Yeah, and I want the manuscript. Don't keep me waiting, Wake.
Hello? Hello! Ah! I'm gonna kill him!
I had to get to
I
Mirror
don't even
Peak.
have the complete manuscript, man. Okay, I guess I'm going... I guess I'm getting attacked, is what's happening.
Maybe closer than ever before.
Alright. Fresh supplies. I still do have a shotgun. I need to keep that in mind. Couple of flashbangs. And they're giving me a big load of revolver ammo. Good,
When
good.
Thomas Zane fell for Barbara Jagger, it happened fast. She was young, vibrant, and beautiful, full of life. He had never been a very happy man, and without any seeming effort, she had changed all that. Zane felt good for the first time in his life. Everything she did was another piece of a jigsaw puzzle he hadn't even known he'd been missing. And best of all, she made the words flow, strong and sharp. She was his muse.
Alright, I think I'm full of revolver ammo already, as it happens. Let's see if we can change that. Do you mind? something inside the train car bouncing around. I'm guessing we'll probably have to get down into it. So what's the smart way to do that? There it is. Not more than one. Sounds good. All right.
What the hell?
Alright, so I'm guessing it wants me to get past that gate, which means we'll have to take out the power first, which is all the way at the end of the line.
The only way to reach
Almost
the
looks like a
hillside
working
is to go
car,
through the
yeah.
building. I had to
That's
find
interesting.
a way to avoid electrocution.
I could use that. I think I'm just going to take it with me here, because the headlights will be very useful. Oh yeah. What a great, great time. Alright, turning off the power. I'm assuming that might also turn off my light. So I should enjoy it while I can. Check around this way real quick. Don't think there's anything. Okay. And light gone. That could be a quick way to break this car. Not sure if it's really effective against poltergeists. There's some way to boost the headlights, but I cannot remember what it is. That's gonna leave a dent. Alright, I think I'm just gonna have to focus in on these. This is smoking quite a bit. Okay, trying to make a run for it instead. Don't think I need to take out the poltergeists. It's not a great sound. Yeah. Trust no one. Manuscript pages, where are you, manuscript pages? Do you not love me anymore? That's oddly well, placed. Little chair tableau there. Is this for resting, or some sort of saucy Dale Cooper reference? I'm not sure. What Dale Cooper reference isn't? I'd slip a note under his door telling him to rescue me at One-Eyed Jack's any old time. Calm down, Tree. It's not the time. Man, something unfortunate happened there. I hope it was a quill accident.
Standard Power Company equipment.
Make sure I'm not missing something over here. I think it's just a dead end. Perfect. Ouch. Okay. Doesn't look like there's a way up onto that beam there, so let's just keep going. curious about this hole in the top of the train. There we go. Now you can't get on top of it. Not seeing anything over there, though. And not seeing anything in there. Worth a check. Okay. Some possible supplies up this way. Okay, come on in, boys. Get nice and close. Lovely. I was hoping they'd replenish my shotgun, too.
I had no real plan. I was going to give the kidnapper all the manuscript pages I had for Alice. If that wasn't enough, I'd hold him at gunpoint and make him talk.
Ah, interesting. So I have a double-barrel shotgun now. I guess this would be an upgrade to a pump action. Likely a little bit higher rate of fire and more shots. Just keep close to those in case. Stop it. Naughty. Oh, I'd love for you to turn it on. There you go. Oh man, does he not heal in those? I thought he did. Oh, that's quite the scene. There you go. So it's very likely that I'm missing a cabin or two. Like, I'm kind of curious to run over to that one. But I don't want to die. Let's try it. not much. Seen any pages bursting out of the night. Let's go for it.
The dark presence was moving ahead of me in the same direction I was going. A cold feeling settled itself in the pit of my stomach. Was it going for Alice?
The graveyard shift may cause cancer.
Does it? That's dreadful news. Alright, come on, Tiny Dancer. Let's try it. Oh, nice.
The place was dead, a ghost town. Had been for decades, maybe a century. Things were never as simple in real life as in fiction. I had lost count of the times I had wished there'd be a clear reason for my writer's block. Something to fight, something to lash out on. There wasn't. I was filled with doubt. I was nothing like the hero in my books. Alex Casey had gone through his life with single-minded determination, never wavering from his goal. Even now, I was angry at myself, angry at Alice, angry at Barry. I was fumbling and I had no plan.
I can't remember if I've already mentioned it, so I'm so sorry if this is just a rehash, but just important to note, Alex Casey, I believe, is Max Payne. Alan Wake wrote Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2, but then they had, like, licensing issues. They had to sell it to Rockstar or something, so they can't call him Max Payne anymore. So the character of Alan Wake's books is Alex Casey now, but I do believe you can assume that it's the events of Max Payne and Max Payne 1. But like I said, I may have already mentioned that. Gray Peak Gorge. A mining town of the Bright Falls Mining Company. The nearby graveyard is a testament to the dangers the miners faced on a daily basis. Most of the men who lost their lives over the years here were buried there, a grim reminder to be careful for those who remained. Abandoned overnight when the Bright Falls Mining Company closed its doors in 1970, post-eruption. It's a fridge! Run! That's a horrifying new connotation now. Thank you, Post. Oh, but thank you. And thank you, Tree. Who else wants some? Locomotive? Is it you? Oh, it's Locomotive, all right. Okay.
I needed a key for the door.
And there it is. Seemed a little easy. Too easy? Maybe? Maybe, possibly? Oh, this is nice in here. Little resting spot. Rusty stove, just in case.
Outside of writing is a struggle. I feel ill. I managed to make my way downstairs. There's a shoebox filled with books and papers by Thomas Zane. It's very hard to focus, but I managed to read some of it. He's a poet, and a good one. He writes of muses and creators summoning fabulous things from a magic lake, using his powers to shape the world of a realm of gods and dreams and demons, dark things that wait for a chance to slip through, wearing the flesh of men as disguise. Zane writes about himself, his girlfriend being taken over by a dark presence, about growing scared of the lake. Zane believes it's a mirror to the gaping void of darkness above, where some Lovecraftian presence lurks. I crawl back upstairs. I'll borrow these things for my story. They ring true. They fit.
So there's some definite, like, chicken and egg situation things happening here. It's like, is all of this happening and has been happening since the dawn of time, or has it been polluted by the writing that various authors have done of gods and demons and stuff? It's like, what part of it is real and what part of it was made real as an act of creation? So it's interesting that while he was writing the story in the cabin during the week we lost, he took inspiration from some of Thomas Zane's writings that were left in that shoebox we actually saw when we were in Birdleg Cabin there. Okay, so going up that way is where it wants us to go.
Text. The message was full of spelling errors and insults. It was telling me to hurry up.
Let's look for the supplies. All right. I think we're almost there.
Birds.
I don't want to be pecked to death. Stop it. Being pecked to death hurts my feelings. Huh. This isn't better, but sure. Tunnels go to Cauldron Lake. And I can hear Alice calling me.
Without warning, the headache stabbed at my brain. Alice?
Alice?
I'm losing it. I gotta get out of here.
So that's very, very interesting, because as of right now, Alan woke up and he believes that his wife has been kidnapped. He's been getting calls from a kidnapper who he is going to meet, and this little side tunnel is saying, hey, Alice isn't the way you're going. Alice is still back in Cauldron Lake. The kidnapper does not have her.
The hunters were big, thick-set men, confident and at home in the woods. They were feeling good, running on beer, ghost stories, and camaraderie late into the night. It did them no good, as they were taken by the dark presence, sucked deep into a darkness far worse than any ghost story they ever told or heard.
I like how they just have little, normal people, hunters in the woods aspect of this, or perspective of this, too. They're just hanging around, drinking beer, and all of a sudden possessed by some dark presence. So that little side path is very, very interesting, because it goes against the current reality Alan believes to be true, and he doesn't know why he just saw that. Okay, this isn't looking good.
Even behind the closed doors and curtains of his grimy room at the Majestic, the local motel, Nightingale could feel the locals' eyes on him, the unrelenting pressure of their judgment. He forced it out of his mind. For all he knew, they could all be under Wake's spell already. You do what you have to do to get the job done. He took comfort from the bottle in his hand. Please, he thought, just let me get through this.
Almost had some shrapnel issues in my legs there. All right, come on. Just keep dancing around the minecart, you and I. That hunting rifle packs a punch. All right, guessing we're going that way.
I'd have to make my way up this mine shaft in order to go on. Maybe the machinery could help me with that.
Lovely. I will happily take a puzzle room rather than a combat arena. Oh, really not a puzzle necessarily. Must be there that I need it? I'm tempted to go one level up, but I think it's there. That makes sense. Ah, now I can switch it. Okay. Now I can go one level up. Okay. We're out of the mine. I believe the lookout is just across... Oh, whatever you would call that. I want to say an elevator, but cable car? He's having some trouble with those stairs. You can do it, Alan. We believe in you. That's the good stuff. That's cool. Actually see your beam. Okay.
Lightning flashed behind the windows of Cauldron Lake Lodge. Tor Anderson laughed and held the steel hammer above his head. Nurse Sinclair was trying to calm him down without success. Tor grinned madly and shouted, "My hammer's up. Here's a friendly poke from Molnir, wench." He brought the hammer down with all his might on Sinclair's head. "We're on a comeback tour, baby."
That does not sound pleasant. All right. I guess we're going down here. To there, where we just need to get power to the cable car. I thought there may have been a generator up here or something, but there must not be. Okay, here's the generator. Ah, that's a nice light. And moving on.
Oh, great. Another cable car. Just great.
We'll keep the flare gun equipped in case birds attack us en route, as that is the quickest way to dispatch birds. Don't try this at home. Nice. Okay. That'll help. No. Okay.
Shit.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about that light source. But no, I'll wait. Guess I'm not going back that way. bit of ammo. Eighth deepest lake in the world. A caldera lake formed in a volcanic crater. The volcano itself could be considered to be active, but it has not erupted since the volcanic earthquakes of 1970, and even then the underground activity was comparably mild. Despite some property damage, there were no casualties. That's technically true, but sad. Cauldron Lake is one of the most beautiful spots in the Bright Falls area, as well as a central figure in many local folk tales. It's a popular recreational area for the area residents. Mm-hmm. I've got an itchy flashbang trigger. Don't test me. Goodbye. Okay, I heard a diving suit. Here we go. This manuscript page just says, "It turned out the bridge was out," I'm gonna be... I don't know what. I don't even know.
Checked all of Stucky's rental cabins. There had been no sign of the wakes. It was dark when he'd found their car parked at the end of the road by Cauldron Lake. It made no sense. They must have taken a wrong turn, but there was no sign of them, and the car had been there for hours already. Frustrated, Mott stood on the rotten ruin of the footbridge that had once led to Diver's Isle before it sank beneath the waves years ago. The boss wouldn't be happy.
So Mott, it's like he followed us on the ferry. He was watching us. He went to Stucky's cabins where we should have been. Like, if we had gotten the keys from that guy at the diner, we would have ended up at Stucky's cabins where he would have been waiting to kidnap Alice, it seems. But because Barbara Jagger instead intercepted us and gave us keys to Bird's Leg cabin on Diver's Isle, he failed. And that was like a week ago. That was when we first arrived. So it's like if their plan was to genuinely kidnap Alice, they didn't succeed in that. But now seem to be operating with Alan as though they did, because he doesn't remember either way. A lovely old structure. With a scary cellar door that I can kick. And it's a one-way trip. Alright, I'm kicking. Okay. So up till now I've kind of thought that it was Thomas who was leaving me these light-up messages. It doesn't look like it's Thomas. Or at least not fully. So Thomas Zane and CN? Is that like... I thought Cynthia... Oh, maybe it's CW. Yeah, Cynthia Weaver. I know a Cynthia Weaver, I don't know a CN. So I think Cynthia Weaver is the Lantern Lady? If I'm remembering correctly, I might not be. So it's like... Some of these messages are written by Tom, because she says, "Did you write this? I miss you, Tom. Did you write this?" So it's like, I think the idea of this light-up text is Thomas Zane. Some of the messages are from him. But it appears that Cynthia Weaver has found the messages because... Oh, that's interesting. Because she carries a lantern everywhere she goes. She would see these. You know, it needs a light source to show up. But then they just kind of drove her crazy, it seems. So that is really interesting. The one thing we know about Thomas Zane is that he was every bit as good and as popular a writer in his day as Alan Wake. Like, people in town, Cynthia Weaver may have been comparable to Rose in that she's a huge fan of his writing and sort of has a crush on him. But it's like, now none of that would matter anymore. So what happened if Cynthia Weaver had a crush on Thomas Zane, and then Thomas Zane wrote himself out of existence, but then Cynthia Weaver was still able to see these lantern messages from a dead man? She would just think she's completely lost it. So I wonder if Cynthia Weaver even remembers at all. That's an obvious trap. That's how you kill me. That's how this ends. Pardon me. That was a little close. Okay, so this broke. What changed? I guess I'm just going this way. There we go.
I could see Cauldron Lake. I thought I could make out the spot where the island and the cabin had been. There was a light near it. It had to be a boat.
See the lodge in the distance up there.
I was close now. I had to get there fast. I tried to hold on to Alice, but her form melted away. I was losing control. Dr. Hartman stood in her place. I wanted to hit him, but my arms were jelly. He smiled. It was a reassuring smile, and I hated him for it. I had to give you a sedative. Don't fight it. You went through another rough period. Right now, it's very important that you stay calm. We don't want you to have another episode. You're a patient at my clinic. Have been for a while now. I did what I would find. I'm here! I'm coming!
No! Get away! Sorry. Please, lady. The boss didn't know who he was messing with. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. We don't have his wife. We don't know where she is. She's probably drowned. We just said we had her to make him play ball. You see? To get him writing for us. Please. Please. Oh. I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me.
Oh, it's too late for that. Peel the musculature from his thighs. That's the stuff. I mean, unhand him, you. You brute. You. Big finish time. Time for the big lookout battle. Oh, hello, Barbara. There's that manuscript page. And it was dramatic. Oh, lovely. Everything I hoped for and more. And there's episode 3. Next time we will be back for episode 4, which is titled The Truth. I hope I'm prepared. Thank you very, very much for your patience and coming with me on this journey. Hopefully we'll have time for some more of this and maybe even some Control tomorrow. We have to get back into that. I've just been wanting to catch my memory up on Alan Wake first here, so once again, thank you for your time. I will see you next time. Hope you have a lovely day.